Hey everyone, it's Year Peacekeeper coming at you with the next video in our How to Play series on the Japanese destroyer line. This is the Tier 9 Yugumo class destroyer. The Yugumo class was a class of 19 planned and completed destroyers built from 1940 to 1944. This is the last class of destroyers to be designed by the Imperial Japanese Navy during World War II and some of the last destroyers to be built overall. The Yugumo is almost 100% a reorder of the preceding Kagerou class. The Yugumos featured additional anti-aircraft straight from the shipyard in the form of additional 25mm Type 96 guns, but the remainder of the ship remained almost identical to the Kagerou's. By war's end, there was little to differentiate the classes of ships, as both received extensive anti-submarine armament and anti-aircraft armament upgrades throughout the war to match the changing demands of World War II naval combat. And as a result, it was very difficult to tell these ships apart in an actual combat scenario. And just for your information, Yugumo means evening clouds. In terms of service histories, like all destroyers of any nation, really, these ships were used extensively as escort ships for larger ships and task forces. Many of them participated in major battles such as the Battle of Midway, Battle of Eastern Solomons, Battle for Santa Cruz Islands. Some of them participated in the Battle for Guadalcanal and the Battle of Leyte Gulf, as well as the Battle of Vela la Vela, in which a number of them were credited with sinking U.S. ships. A couple of these ships were also used in Operation 10 Go, which was the suicide mission of Yamato, and at least one of them, destroyer Kiyoshima, also participated in the Battle of Sibian Sea, in which Yamato's sister ship the Musashi was sunk. Aside from Kiyoshima, there are two other notable ships. One is notable for a particularly heinous act it committed after the Battle of Midway, and the other for having participated in a number of famous battles. Yuugumo was present at the Battle of Midway, in which she shot down a SBD Dauntless dive bomber and recovered the crewmen. Those crewmen were Ensign Franco Flattery. Yeah, Flattery. It's Irish. And AMM-1C Bruno Guido. After interrogating these two men, the crew of Yuugumo tied weights around their feet and threw the two men overboard to drown. They did this as a form of payback for the destruction of 2/3 of the Kato Botai Pearl Harbor Task Force, the destruction of 2/3 of that fleet, in addition to the sinking of the 4 Japanese fleet carriers Akagi, Kaga, Soryu, and Hiryu. On the other side of that, and much less heinous, was Yugumo, who participated in the Battle of Midway, Eastern Solomons, Santa Cruz, Guadalcanal, and the Battle of Vela la Vela. During the Battle of Vela la Vela, she is credited with severely damaging the USS Chevalier with a torpedo. She would later be sunk by combined gunfire of Chevalier and the USS Selfridge, but, her acts were quite heroic for a destroyer facing overwhelming odds in that battle. In terms of her in-game gameplay style, Yugumo gains 400 hit points, 3 kilometers of gun range, a lot more anti-aircraft, including the dual-purpose main guns, faster turret traverse, a half knot of top speed, and all that over Kagerou, and she only loses 0.2 seconds from her rudder shift time and 0.1 kilometer of detection range to get those upgrades. And being as she's a tier 9, that additional upgrade slot can be used to give her another additional strong point, such as a faster reload time on her torpedoes, which makes her an even better torpedo boat than Kagerou was. And she still gets access to the torpedo reload booster consumable, which unfortunately replaces your smoke, but it is there for you to choose if you want. And unlike Kagerou, Yugumo has access to the Type F3 torpedoes, which are a significantly faster torpedo than the stock Type 93 Mod 2s. And they do hit a little bit harder and reload a little quicker, but the downside is they only have an 8-kilometer range, which is a very dangerous place to play if you are not used to the amount of hydro and radar at that tier. But overall, she retains the strong points of Kagerou, which was the maneuverability, the speed, and the stealth, but fixes the weak points, such as the short gun range and long torpedo reload time. So overall, I like Yugumo a lot. It's a very strong ship when played to her strengths. In terms of stats, she does have 15,500 hit points. Again, that's 400 more hit points than Kagerou. Her main battery does consist of the 3 5-inch 50 cal third-year type guns. They are in 3 dual turrets. You have 1 up front and 2 out back in super firing pairs. They do have a 14.5 kilometer firing range, a reload time of 5.1 seconds, and a 180-degree turn time of 22.8 seconds. That time is comparable to the Kiev at Tier 8, which has like an 18.6 second turret traverse. And that's really not a bad turret traverse at all. It has a 7% fire chance, which is great for baiting out the damage control parties. Now, you could make a solid case to not run a AFT on this guy because 15 kilometers of gun range on a destroyer has some questionable practices, but we'll talk about that more in the battle video. She does have 2 quad torpedo tubes. These are in the same configuration as the preceding Kagerou class. The Type 93 Mod 2 torpedoes have a 10 kilometer range, 67 knot top speed, 21,000 damage, 95.2 second reload time, and a 1.7 kilometer detection range. These torpedoes are far more flexible, in my opinion, than the F3s are. I just don't like using F3s because I feel a little hamstrung, because sometimes you can get torpedoes into packs of ships where you couldn't with the F3s because the range is just too short. And one of the biggest changes over Kagerou is the additional anti-aircraft suite. You can see here that we have 4 single 25mm Type 96s, 4 dual 25mm Type 96s, and 5 triple 25mm Type 96s, in addition to those 5-inch 50 cal dual-purpose main guns. Your anti-aircraft gun range with AFT goes out to 6K and then drops down to 3.7. And while there's not a whole lot of DPS there for a destroyer, it's really not too shabby. I mean, you'll shoot down aircraft occasionally with it. It's not like you're playing the Isakaze, which has basically no anti-aircraft at all. Top speed of 37.3 knots. That is going to be with the speed flag. Without the speed flag, it is 35.5 knots. In terms of turning circle, 640 meters, which is identical to Kagerou, but that rudder shift time drops to 2.9 seconds from 2.7 seconds. This is plenty fast. I don't feel any need to run the upgrade module for... I lied. I am running steering gears mod 2 on this guy. Maybe I should review that before I open my mouth. Concealment range, 5.5 kilometers, which is 0.1 kilometers more than the Kagerou. That's by sea, 3.2 by air. Let's dive into those upgrades. Main armaments mod 1, yep, still the standard. This second slot, aiming systems mod 1. You do have anti-aircraft guns, and pushing them out an extra 20k certainly isn't going to hurt if you're really trying to shoot down aircraft, but quite honestly, I'd rather have the aiming systems mod 1 for the increase in our torpedo tube turret traverse, which is nice. In this third slot, we've got a little bit of flexibility in the ways that we want to go. I'm running torpedo tubes mod 3 because getting those torpedoes reloaded faster than Kagerou makes this a much stronger torpedo boat. But you could make a solid case for just about any one of these. Interesting side note, main battery mod 3, since they have buffed the turret traverse on Yugumo, actually becomes somewhat viable, reducing our loading time quite a bit. No, we're not going to actually do that. You can reduce your reload time, a fairly good chunk there, 12% reduction, so from 5 seconds down to like 4.4-ish. And only a 13% penalty to your turret traverse, which would probably bring it right back to where it was with before the turret traverse buff. But I run torpedo tubes mod 3. Don't see any reason to run additional range for the main battery. Again, you have 14.5 kilometers. Adding 16% to that's not going to help. AA guns mod 3. Again, if you're looking to run this as kind of an anti-aircraft screen, I guess it's not going to be nearly as effective as a Fletcher would be with defensive fire. So, or does the tier 9 Russian one, the new Russian one, have it? I don't know. Anyway, Fletcher would be a much better choice for a overall at tier 9 for anti-aircraft duties. It's got a much stronger anti-aircraft suite, and on top of that, it has defensive fire, which is useful. In the 4th slot here, Propulsion Systems Mod 1, there's really nothing else here that I'd recommend. Steering Gears Mod 1, I guess, if you lose your steering gears more than your engines. I personally find losing my engines to be far worse than losing my steering, especially since I run Last Stand. In the 5th slot, I am running Steering Gears Mod 2, and this is going to reduce that rudder shift time by 20%. This ship's rudder shift is just long enough where you lose a little bit of the maneuverability of the ship if you go with Propulsion Systems Mod 2. And the ship does accelerate reasonably well, so it's not like you really need Propulsion Systems Mod 2. But if you can deal with the slightly longer rudder shift time, Propulsion Systems Mod 2 is not a terrible upgrade. Damage Control Systems Mod 2 is a complete waste. Don't take it. In this last slot, Concealment Systems Mod 1 to drop you down to that 5.5 kilometer detection range and make it that much harder for shells to hit you with that plus 5% to the maximum dispersion of shells being fired at you. That's like having the camo on for free. You can stack it with the camo as well. Anyway, let's dive on into the battle video. Alright, so this battle is going to be a tier 9 battle, and it is going to be on the map Haven, which is a new map that is fantastic for a high tier map. You don't have the big open water problems that we have on maps like Okinawa or on Mountain Range, where it just ends up being this massive stalemate. This map actually promotes a lot of really aggressive gameplay style, and it's a fantastic map for Japanese destroyers. Lots of abilities, lots of islands in the way to get away from any, gunboats that would be chasing after you. And you can use those to hide behind when you get radar, which is nice. You can actually physically block incoming shells. This is a tier 9 fight. There are no aircraft carriers, but there are a number of gunboats. There is a Tashkent, Benson, and an Akizuki on the other team. That definitely makes things a bit painful. If you are in a Japanese destroyer and you run up against one of them, they are very efficient at killing you. We are going to go to the south on this map, and this map has a number of different strategies on it, but being as I'm in a destroyer, sometimes you can get away with doing this where you can run around to the south and you can catch all their battleships off guard. It just kind of depends on how their destroyers play out. Sometimes they will go into this middle ring here off to my left, and basically you can ignore them at that point because they're not coming after you, and as a result, you've basically got free reign on any ships that come the southern route. Sometimes if they go the northern route, you can actually cap while they are up there fighting with your team up in the north. So this is kind of a fun little tactic to run. Sometimes it doesn't work. You just kind of have to play it by ear. We're going to go ahead and give it a shot. I mean, I've got a division mate here running a Fletcher. If he can't if he can't help me out with the destroyers that come in, well, he's not doing his job then, which that does not end up being an issue. This match is quite a fantastic match, actually. I don't want to brag too much, so I will save it for the end, I guess. But this was a very, very good game. And this ship is really strong. I mean, there's a lot of people that don't like her, and I get it. But again, you really, really, really need to use the guns on the Japanese destroyers. You've got 14.5 kilometers worth of range. I'm not saying you have to use all 14.5 kilometers at the first ship that you see. Definitely use an ounce of common sense here and plan, your engagements a little bit. So this Tirpitz is, well, he's coming towards us, but I have a feeling he's going to turn in. That would make the most sense. All of our battleships are, to the north of him. It would make sense for him to turn in. Now, you have a 5.5 kilometer detection range, so there's no use in lighting up these destroyers and giving away your position until it's absolutely, positively a solid and sound strategy. Unfortunately, this Tirpitz turns away, so we're going to go ahead and engage him. We are lighting ourselves up to that Ibuki over there, so we will pop our smoke, and we'll burn him down. Because look what he's doing, he's turning into those torpedoes. And that is a fantastic thing. Like, yes, please turn into my torpedoes. Maybe I'll get lucky and detonate you. Now, we do have the 2 destroyers there to our west that we need to be cautious of. Oh, and there's a torpedo hit. You can see 15,000 damage on a Tirpitz. There is my division mate. He is dealing with this Benson, so we're going to help him with this Benson. And, of course, he jumps into the smoke at the last minute. And I lose the Benson. We do need to get out of this smoke, though, because that Benson is most assuredly going to go ahead and try and torpedo us. This Tirpitz has burned his repair, so we're going to try and start him on fire. I did slow down towards the end of this. Oh, there's the Benson again. He poked up. We got the fire on the Tirpitz, so we should probably focus on that Benson now. Yep. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to focus on the Benson. You can see this game does not have the upgraded turret traverse on it, but you can see even before the turret traverse buff, the turrets turned reasonably quick. I also was turning the ship a lot too. And a good couple of hits there, leave him with very little hit points, only 1,900 hit points. Oh! There's his torpedoes. Good thing we bailed out when we did. And it doesn't take much to avoid these. I'm going to go ahead and slam on the brakes and let those torpedoes sail by and then start up again. That Tirpitz is still burning from the fire that I started on him. And that is one of the nicest things about being in a Japanese destroyer with aggressive gunplay. You can get, you get a torpedo hit with the flood like we had. He burns his repair. What do? I light him on fire afterwards and then he burns. You just rack up damage that way. Now he's finally repaired it. But before that, that's the strength of the guns of the Japanese destroyers, is that you can really, really punish somebody if they burn their damage control party, which if you're flooding, no one is crazy enough to not use their repair party. I mean, seriously, no one is that crazy. Now, this New Orleans here, he is starting to get a little close, so we are going to go ahead and continue to watch him, but he is distracted. We will engage him. And it would seem like this is a crazy idea to engage a cruiser with a Japanese destroyer. Let me explain a little bit more why this works. He is thoroughly distracted by what is shooting at him, and thus is not paying attention to the lowly Japanese destroyer that is floating around near him. Now, he dies, and I'm not sure if those torpedoes would have hit him if he would have kept going, but I'm confident. I think those would have hit him. And that just goes to show that... Ooh, the Iowa's shooting at us. That just goes to show that you can place torpedoes where you believe a ship is going to come through, and you can still get hits. Now, that set that I launched... Ooh! Still no damage. We have managed to escape unscathed. 41,000 damage so far this match. You can put torpedoes where a ship is most likely to go. Now, there was really only 3 ways that he could have gone. One of which is he could have continued on his path, which would have been that marker would have been accurate. He could have turned to the left, which would have caused the marker to move far to the right, or he could have made a left-hand turn and gotten closer. Now, judging by the fact that he's in a cruiser and most likely completely uninterested in trying to get nailed by the battleships by being bow in all the time, he decided he was going to turn out. Well, he turned back in at the last moment, and, well, he kind of got punished for it. So we are once again popping our smoke, and we have an Iowa that's coming up. Ooh, torpedoes behind us. Pay attention to those. Those are way behind us. Okay. And more torpedoes. Though those are behind too. So I did lay smoke for my teammates here. That was a nice thing that I didn't have to do. We do need to avoid the torpedoes that came in here. we are going to try... Oh, Iowa's getting smoke assist. Okay, well, we are not detected. Now, this is a perfect time to not use your guns. Even though there's plenty of targets out here that I could shoot at and burn, what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and catch this Iowa sitting stationary in the smoke, maybe even backing up. And to make the most of this, the goal here... Oh, we got a Tashkent over there that needs to die, so I am going to shoot at him. But with this Iowa, you know, we'll go ahead and we launch. You can see he's backing up. That first set I launched kind of launched a little bit long, and he missed. Oh, okay, no, he hit. He missed with the first turret, but he got with the second. Oh, we started him on fire. Excellent. Please, please, please burn that repair so that when these torpedoes... Oh, he burned his repair. The torpedoes are on the way, bud. All I need to do is get you to flood, and you are going to be in a massive world of hurt. And so those torpedoes are en route. Our smoke is dissipating over there. And up to 47,000 damage. We are still detected. You can see here just mashing the WAS and D keys, being hard to hit. Now we've no longer detected. Okay, the Iowa's backing out. And one torpedo hit and a flood. Bad idea to burn your repair when you burned it, man. Because here's where the damage starts adding up. And because he has repaired this, a quick check of our surroundings shows that there's no cruisers nearby. That means that it's only this battleship, and I think I can avoid his gunfire. Oh, now you're on fire! Man, have a fire. Yeah, you missed. You missed again. That's rough. I'm just going to continue to lay into you because, you know, you're burning, you're flooding. Now you're on fire a second time. I hear you like fire, so here's another fire to go with your fire so you can burn while you're flooding. Seems kind of contradictory. Went ahead and launched a set there, and we're going to launch one ahead just in case he manages to repair this, but he is most assuredly not. We are... Oh, we got the kill, and we are up to 110,295 damage as a result of, 1, baiting out his damage control party, 2, getting a flood, and then 3, following it up with 2 additional fires. So we had 2 fires and a flood going while he had no damage control party at all. And that is, again, one of the advantages of using the guns on Japanese destroyers. It doesn't seem to make logical sense to have 14.5 kilometers of range, and, you know, when you shoot, everybody within 15K of you can see you. I get it. I totally understand. It's frustrating. That's why they made the W, A, S, and D keys on your keyboard, and sometimes Q and E if you're that kind of player. We are going to go ahead and lay some smoke here for our turpets in the hopes that he goes ahead and utilizes this so he doesn't die. We do need to keep our battleships alive in this. We're going to go ahead and try and turn so that he stays in the smoke as he goes. And my hope is that we can get rid of maybe the Sabuki or the turpets and deal with that. Now, my division mate here is going to go ahead and chase after the Ibuki. He's also going to go and try and help up at our cap if he can. He's gonna have to deal with that Ibuki, though, who is going to have pretty much free reign of him until he gets through this island. I'm gonna go into the cap here, and we're going to take every ounce of advantage of the fact that we have a 5.5 kilometer detection range. We're going to try and assist with what we can. We're out of smoke charges, so any gunnery that we do is going to have to be while our other target is thoroughly distracted. And we've got 3 minutes to cap. Let's see here. Does my partner here get away with what he's doing, or doesn't he? It's a secret. So this Tirpitz is going to go ahead and turn towards us. And you can see here he's not moving terribly fast, and so we are closing the distance. He is turning, and he's not really accelerating much. Well, now he's starting to accelerate, so we're going to launch these long, and the hope is that he will be where those torpedoes are at when they get there. Oh, he looks like he's holding his own there. We're now behind an island, so we are going to take advantage of this island and use it to stealth fire at this turp. Uh-oh, I'm detected. This can only mean one thing. Battle. I don't know. I actually don't. I think the Tirpitz was able to spot me there momentarily. We are going to use this island. He is on fire. My hope is that I can smack him with some torpedoes, assuming he doesn't die first. Remember, we launched those torpedoes plenty far ahead. Now he's on fire a second time. And then those torpedoes come in. Yes. Give me a flood. No flood. And, oh, we hit him twice and he's dead, so it doesn't really matter. 140,233 damage. They are out of their cap. We are halfway done with theirs, and there is nobody around us to catch it. And my division mate managed to sink that Ibuki without really any problems. Absolutely fantastic. And of course, now comes the smack talk from the people on the other team saying that this and that didn't happen and it should have. You know, sometimes you just got to admit that, you know, you got played. You just got outplayed. Sometimes the game goes and it doesn't go your way. And it happens to all of us. Trust me, I started off tonight with 4 back-to-back hard losses where I did over 80,000 damage in a Baltimore or New Orleans and lost. And that is tough. That is tough. But sometimes it just happens, and you just got to keep playing until you can actually get that win rate back up, or whatever it is you're trying to do, if you even really care about stats. I mean, I truthfully don't care about my stats at all. They're useful to help track trends. Am I improving? Am I not improving? Do I have enough battles in a ship to actually talk about it? Now, the caveat emptor there being that I do super test stuff, and while ships change between super test and live, there's still experience that's gained there. So a lot of these newer ships, like for instance Yugumo, I've got the experience from that before in super test that kind of helps me form an opinion, but this ship isn't that difficult. So 143,233 damage, 4 torpedo hits, that's it. 1,816 base XP. Here's the detailed report. Look at that flood and fire damage. 57,000 damage between those two alone. There's the credit and XP screen. Anyway, I really do enjoy Yugumo. It is a fantastic ship. Is it better than Fletcher? It kind of depends on your playstyle. It's like Shimakaze. Shimakaze has some strengths too that we'll talk about next week. Anyway, I'm your Peacekeeper. Like, comment, subscribe, and thank you for watching.